What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Bubba Speed Career Mode in MotoGP 20, and it is the very first episode of the second season. Of course, we moved up to Moto2 after winning the Moto3 championship in the last race in Valencia. Mazia, actually, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you go check out the previous season. But Mazia did crash out of the last race, which means Bubba could, and we already had a 5-point lead, so all we had to do was, stay around Mazia and we would have been fine regardless, and we were able to win the title. And I'm actually going to be starting to do something. Starting the next video, I'm going to be showing you my qualifying lap, and then we'll be getting to the race. But this time, I honestly forgot to record the qualifying lap, and we're going to go ahead and just jump straight into the race. Now, this is my first time using Moto2. All right, I haven't tried in time trialing like that, so this is my very first time trying this class out. Obviously, qualifying in second position is actually pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I don't play on this high difficult. I don't play on 120% like a lot of guys that I've been seeing on the Facebook group. I mean, those guys are monsters. I play on 90%. I'm happy about that difficulty because it feels like it's fun for me. The racing, I think, is fun for you guys as well. And Moto2 has definitely been a lot more difficult. I will say that, mostly because of how the bikes are, and that's a good thing. One criticism I've had in the past for the jump between Moto3 to Moto2 and the MotoGP is that a lot of times the only thing that would really change, in my opinion, was basically the speed. That's pretty much it. It didn't feel like it was more difficult for me moving forward. It was just, it was just different, not more difficult. And I do like the fact that it definitely is a lot more difficult moving up to Moto2. As you can see, making some mistakes here, you're trying to really just get used to the amount of power you have coming out, because like a Moto3, if you once you hit the throttle, coming out of a corner, you're not really gonna go flying or something like that. And this, I'm keeping traction control down to 2, and I would really love some of your thoughts and any tips you can give me. I've been keeping it at 2, and I feel like that's probably best for me because I'm still not good at easing on the throttle and easing into the brakes and stuff like that. So I do need to work on that desperately before I get to MotoGP, and it's going to be very, very, very important, I think, throughout the season to actually improve on that as well. So I am very happy to report that the gameplay moving up to Moto2 is very, very different. Of course, I still plan on doing a review of it, but I honestly don't have that much time to play, and I don't want to do a review without actually sinking my teeth into all the different categories. And they've added new content to the game for the career mode itself, which is the junior championship. So they've added a lot of stuff, and they're continuing to add to it. So I will give them props. They're definitely making this a very, very complete package and a very interestingly developed game. And what I mean by that is we see people talking constantly, especially in the sports community, oh, this is a live thing, it's going to be changing every week, all that stuff. And it's kind of like that in all gaming nowadays, but I feel like MotoGP and Milestone, I should say, are one of the few companies that are actually getting this right. The stuff that they're adding to it, the graphics packages, all this cool stuff, the mode itself, not really the mode itself, the addition to career mode. I think it's just all really, really cool stuff, and I do have to take my hat off to them. And in a way, I'm kind of happy that I haven't done the review yet, because it means that I can count all these things in my review. And I do believe that this is definitely an excellent game. And like I said, the fact that Moto2 feels so different is only a plus to me. As you can see, like I said, I have traction control down to 2. Now, what I've been trying to kind of figure out in practice and stuff like that, and I haven't really noticed too much of a difference for me personally, is how much EBS and AW change the way the bike feels and stuff like that. That's something I do need to improve on. I've been doing a lot more practice, which is definitely going to be important for me, because that's something I need to do more often, is do as much free practice as possible and then go into qualifying feeling confident, because I can already tell, just based on this, and of course Qatar is a track that I'm pretty good at, so I do feel like even without doing too much practice, I can kind of just get the feel for the bike and then go and perform well. But once we get to, say, Circuit of the Americas and Argentina, tracks that I'm not that good at, or tracks that I don't even feel confident on at all, I think it's going to be a lot more important to do, maybe not a full hour of free practice, but you get my point. Do as much of it as possible. Just try to get as comfortable as I can with the bike and with the tracks, because if we don't, I don't think we're going to win the championship. Now, speaking of championship, obviously, as you can see, Luthi who has been in the game for a long, long time. He's up front right now. Number 12, actually. I didn't notice that. He's number 12, representing my dad as well. So shout out to my dad, El Sueño. And, you know, like, this is a guy that if I could definitely see him being a strong threat throughout the entire season, because not just, you know, obviously in a video game it's a bit different, but if you take into consideration what he's done throughout his career, he's definitely going to be a threat. We have a good bike, so I definitely think we can compete with him, as of course we're running really wide right there, but it kind of running just having a really, really poor section right now. Again, running extremely wide. But I was just going to say, like, I feel like this is going to be a very, very, very competitive class, because there's 5 or 6 guys. There's Della Porta, there's Canet, there's Baldassarre. There's a lot of guys in here that can give us a lot of problems. So I am fully expecting a much more difficult championship than we had in Moto3, where there was really only one guy, and it was Mazia. That's pretty much the only person that gave us any problems on a consistent level. Whereas in Moto2, I expect it to be a lot more difficult. And obviously, as you guys know, my objective is always win the championship. That's what I'm going for 100%. However, I am also open to the idea that if I don't win the championship in our first attempt, no problem, we can give it a second go. If we don't do it in the second go, then we will move up the MotoGP if the offers are there. So that's something to keep in mind. It might not be a one-season wonder in Moto2. Now, let's also not forget, we didn't do a one-season wonder in Moto3 either, because, you know, the first season was done in MotoGP 19, then we moved into MotoGP 20, and thankfully we won the title. That might be a similar thing in this. Of course, we won't be waiting until MotoGP 21 to go to MotoGP or something like that, but it might not be a one-season thing. So keep that in mind. With all that stuff out of the way, let's just take a look at the race, and there's really not too much going on right now. We are pretty far. We're 1.4 seconds away from Luthi, so he seems like he's a bit out of reach, and we have a decent gap over whoever that is, Schroeder in third. I have to really get used to a lot of these guys' names. Like, a lot of these guys I just don't remember necessarily, so that is something to keep in mind. I'm going to take a little bit of time for me to get used to some of our rivals. I wonder if Schroeder's going to be an actual threat throughout the entire season. He's having a good performance right here in Qatar, but will he be a problem moving on? And let's not forget, Canet was actually our main rival in MotoGP 19 too, so that's always an interesting one. Now, you guys are probably noticing how I run wide there a lot, and that's not necessarily not on purpose. And let me put it this way: like, I've been trying in MotoGP 20 to be a lot more consistent and trying to be cleaner and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not going wide like that on purpose. That's not what I'm trying to do. But on a track like Qatar, where there's plenty of runoff, you can actually exploit that. Like, if you run wide on a lot of tracks, like for example Valencia, it's a problem. It's a huge, huge problem. If you do it in Qatar, a lot of times you can actually come out of it stronger. As weird as that sounds, you can actually come out of it stronger because you can get a better drive, and you can kind of use a lot more track. Obviously, you actually go off the track, but you can actually use it to your advantage. And that's kind of something that's been happening right now. Obviously, I am not doing it on purpose, running wide. I'm always trying to do things the right way. It's just between, you know, being in a rush trying to catch Luthi and trying to, trying to get used to the bike. I'm having a hard time. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, I found myself a lot of times being a bit too cautious. People were past me or in qualifying, doing kind of poorly. But right now, in the span of one lap, we have gained about a 1.5 second all on Luthi, which is definitely not easy to do. And one good thing about this bike is, unlike the bike we had in Moto3, this is definitely one of the fastest bikes on the grid. And I mean, you can tell because top speed wise, it is really good. As we might try to dive under Luthi, can we get through him? No, we crash out. We crash out. Luthi goes down as well. That's devastating because that's a huge, huge, huge mistake for me. That was so stupid by me because honestly, guys, like, all I had to do was just keep it calm. I could have definitely gotten past him. I almost crash out again. I definitely could have gotten past him if we'd have just taken it kind of slow. And I will be honest with you, I did get distracted because my damn kitten went sprinting across the room and jumped and distracted me right before we came into the turn. So as I looked up, I realized I had hit the brakes a little bit too late and I went flying straight into him. So no excuses made. My mistake. My fault for not putting myself in the right conditions to where I can't have a distraction. But unfortunately, between me having a terrible attention disorder, I haven't actually been diagnosed with it, but I do have a really hard time keeping my keeping focused on like this game in particular, which is pretty pretty difficult, which is why I usually do 3 laps, but unfortunately this game doesn't allow you to. You know, I made a mistake, and there's no excuses for it. Like, thankfully it's in a video game. If I'd have done that in real life, we probably both would have been dead or both, pretty severely injured. So, thankfully it was in a video game. Good news is we didn't go flying too backwards. You know, we're still right there. We're in 10th position, and there's a lot of guys right here as we come onto the part of the track where Bubba is definitely at his best and at his fastest. So, if we can just kind of keep it clean, not make another huge mistake and crash out, there is all the chance in the world we can get 6th. Right now, 8th position on Navarro's ass, and Bulaga is right there. Let's see if we can actually do something. We need to avoid a penalty at all costs. Thankfully, I haven't gotten a penalty so far. Go around the outside. Are we going to be able to stick it? We are. So we're 7th position, which isn't terrible. Going into the final corner. Bulaga's right there. If we can get a good drive, but we slide a little bit too much, our rear tire is doomed, I was going to say. It was kind of weird. Only 0.02 fuel left. The important thing at this point, 0.01, is just crossing the line, and we're able to, and we finish in 7th position. Very disappointing, because obviously qualifying in 2nd, being so solid in the race, making that just huge mistake, that really cost us, and this could be a major early a very early and major setback for our championship. So actually our best lap was almost a full second faster than the best lap of anybody else on the track, which is just insane, which shows how good we were in that 4th lap. Obviously 7th position, 16 points back from Schroeder. So we have some work to do. I'm not gonna lie. And the next 2 tracks, they are not my best. They are not my favorites. So it's gonna be rough in Austin, Texas, and Argentina. Not feeling confident there, but we're gonna do the best we can, and I do apologize to you guys for making that mistake, because obviously that's pretty embarrassing for myself, but probably also pretty frustrating for you guys, because I was doing so damn well. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video regardless. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comment section down below what you think Bubba can realistically achieve in this class, and let me know if you have any tips whatsoever for setting up the bike for Moto2, and if you have any tips on how to get better at this class in general. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of the Bubba Speed Career Mode.